I mean, I sorta knew what to expect from a movie like this. And as far as the plot goes, it doesn't really come with any surprises. Even the whole premise is one I've seen many times before. It's basically about a guy who comes back home after his dad dies. And I guess the unique part is that his dad used to work at something called an antiques mall. So he decides to do the same, and that's essentially where the story really starts. And overall, that's probably the best part of the movie. All the side characters and the interactions between them. I mean, they're just fun and enjoyable to watch, and maybe a bit over the top too. Except for the main guy, he's just sorta boring and uninteresting. And that's probably the biggest issue with the movie. I didn't really care about the main guy. I cared more about the side characters, and that's definitely an issue. But at the same time, I gotta hand it to the writers, because this is a well-written movie, at least from a character development and dialogue standpoint. I mean, there has to be close to 10 characters in this that get their own subplot and arc. Pretty much every single character gets their own satisfying story. They start off in one place, and by the end of it, they've learned something and grown. And that's really rare to see, especially in a smaller indie movie. Those usually focus on one or two characters and their story. I mean, you have stuff like, I don't know why this is the first thing that I thought of, but things like Star Wars, where you have a lot of different characters in different places doing different things. And in those movies, all the characters get their own arcs, but it's rarely done this well. Even in those movies, where it doesn't feel forced and actually feels natural and makes sense. So that was really impressive. And as far as the dialogue goes, it's pretty amusing. But here's the drawback. They spent so much time and energy on the side characters that they almost forgot about the main character and the main story. His story and his arc isn't really any more impactful or interesting than the other ones. And as I said, his character is probably the least interesting one. So yeah, it's definitely a weird movie in that regard. I can't really think of another one that's done it this way, given this much attention to this many characters. And it actually kinda worked. And if you look at the main story as being about the antiques mall, and all the people working there, and not the main guy at all, then it's a pretty good movie. But I don't think that's the point. I think they just failed to make the central character and his story interesting. And overall, it's not that compelling of a movie. And none of the technical aspects really stood out either. It looks okay, it's shot fairly well. Nothing was all that terrible, but nothing was all that amazing either, and it came across as sort of bland. And yeah, it doesn't really do anything surprising or inventive, but I did like most of the supporting characters, and I thought it was a moderately funny movie too. And the end result is kinda enjoyable, but not all that impressive. And I'm not sure what I got out of it, or if it's all that memorable either. But I can't call it bad, it's too competently made, and there's too many fun moments in it. And the way it brings all the character arcs full circle is very satisfying. Oh, and Troy Hogan is by far the single best part of the movie. He plays the general manager and he's just hilarious. Great performance. But would I recommend it? Honestly, it's not great, but it's still somewhat enjoyable. So maybe check it out, maybe don't. I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to get myself some antiques. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.